Wow. I never thought I'd get this far. I mean, over the past 5 years, I've reviewed 99 anime and manga series, and today I've reached the big 100th review, that coveted number that everyone tries to strive for, whether they're talking about movies or TV shows or even music, and I don't know what I want to review today. It's such a huge milestone and there's so much pressure on me. Does anyone have any suggestions?
Hi-ho, 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 it's home from work we go. Anime suggestions. Yeah, I've got some great suggestions. Hold that thought. Okay, I got you covered. Okay, for the 100th Lilac anime review, you absolutely have to share with the world and bring praise to the brilliance that is Tasmania. Now, I know what you're thinking, and you're absolutely correct. Taz is not one of the most popular Looney Tunes, but let me tell you, that does not stop this from being a high-quality production that everyone needs to hear about. And sadly, not enough people do know about this, but I know that you are going to help people realize this brilliance from here on out.
No, I don't do Western cartoons like you do. I do anime, you know, from Japan. Yeah, over the other way. Wrong. No.
If you don't mind me suggesting, and you don't mind me suggesting, how about Akira, the anime that brought it to the West, which I've seen that you already reviewed.
No Sherlock.
Just kidding. Don't worry. There's always Serial Experiment Lane. Somebody needs to take the piss off this overrated, boring piece of crap.
Excuse me?
Oh, wait. I know other people like this. Okay? Alright. One more. I present you Cowboy Bebop, one of the most influential animes ever created. So, what do you say?
You do realize that I already reviewed Cowboy Bebop, and in fact, it was my first video review. Thanks Patrick, but nice try.
Review Master Keaton.
I just did Master Keaton!
Review it again!
No!
All reviews must be Keaton!
I will end you!
I'm sorry, I got confused there, sorry. Non-American cartoons, I got it. Lilac Anime Review usually covers non-American cartoons that are renowned for being just a little bit crazy, like that's what we usually cover. And Yellow Submarine is the perfect example of that. I mean, there is no crazier piece of animation out there that I honestly don't know how they made this. I mean, I could take some guesses about what they were doing at the time period, but I'll leave that to your judgment after you've seen it.
You're still not getting the point, are you? This is not how this works, Noah!
So I heard you were taking suggestions, and I guess you probably thought I was going to suggest something like, I don't know, Haikyuu, Kurokona Basket, maybe Soul Eater, but I think I'm going to do something else. So I have some stuff over here. I have my copy of Spiral, which they make fun of me for, because I like this show. I know you just got this one, bought this in the mail, Black Cat. And then maybe something a little more, since you did FLCL for your 95 to 100, Petite Princess Yushi. Ooh, look at the box go. Weird princessy Gynax stuff. And now the dog is interested. Anyway, here's to 100 reviews and 100 more, and I hope to see you do more amazing things. Bye!
Aw, it's so sweet of you, thank you so much, but the three you just suggested, I don't know if any of them would be really worthy of, like, 100th reviews. I guess I'm just being a little picky on that one, but, yeah. But thank you, though!
How about Bible Black?
No!
I hear you need a little bit of help finding what you wanted to do for your 100th episode, and that's a very big milestone. My top 3 anime picks right now are Great Teacher Onizuka, Gurren Lagann, and Kill la Kill. All three of these animes are brilliantly done, and they have so many different emotional weight to them. These are my top 3 favorite animes at the moment. Any of these would be great picks for you. So I don't know if you covered any of them already, but check them out.
I actually haven't talked about any of them, like, except Kill la Kill for impressions, but that's about it. I haven't actually reviewed it, but the problem then comes down to the fact that I currently don't own any of them, which is very saddening, and it makes life more difficult in getting the review done.
Can't go wrong with Tom and Jerry.
No, okay, guys, I don't think I can do this. This is just so much pressure on me. I need to calm down. I need to read something, calm down, and just, oh my god. Seriously, guys, I couldn't be any more obvious right now. Monster is a 74-episode mystery psychological horror series based on the original manga by Naoki Urasawa, published by Shogakukan, and released in North America by Viz Media. Speaking of, Viz is actually currently re-releasing the manga in these perfect edition formats if you are interested in taking a look. The anime from director Masayuki Kojima and Studio Madhouse aired during the spring of 2004 all the way to the fall of 2005. As of this review, Monster has been licensed by Siren Visual in Australia and was formerly licensed by Viz Media in North America. Viz, this is why I can't have nice things.
Kenzo Tenma, a Japanese brain surgeon in Germany, had it all. Incredible skill at his work, a rich and beautiful fiancée, and a promising career at his hospital. However, after becoming disenchanted by hospital politics, he chose to save the life of a young boy who got shot in the head over the life of the mayor. As a result, he lost the support of the hospital director, as well as his position in the hospital and his fiancée. A short time later, the hospital director and the doctors that replaced him were murdered, and the young boy, Johann Liebert, and his twin sister Anna suddenly disappear. 9 years later, Tenma has been catapulted to success, but as the chief suspect of the hospital murders, and now the murders of many middle-aged couples across Germany, Tenma is sent on the run. But Tenma knows the truth, as he discovered that the real culprit is a familiar face that he met 9 years ago. Now, to clear his name and to correct his past mistake, Tenma must get to the bottom of these murders and investigate the truth of the monster who's behind it all.
Since I looked at Master Keaton, another Urasawa work rather recently, if we were to place it side by side with Monster, we would see a drastic difference in animation quality, and not just because of the 6 or 7 year age difference.
While Keaton was more bright and colorful, Monster isn't like that at all. If anything, it's a lot more accurate to compare it to Wolf's Rain, another recent review, than to Keaton. Most of this is due to the content of both, but even then, Keaton had some moments that were rather dark, and Monster has its lighthearted moments as well. Monster is one of those series that uses animation in order to highlight the darker parts of humanity, but it does have some lighter parts to show the good in the world. However, as the show continues on, those lighthearted moments become less and less to the point where it's only in some flashbacks that we see the brighter colors of the world. It ties into the story quite well, as the more we all learn about Johann and try to stop him, the more dark the world becomes until we get a collapse by the time we get towards the end. The animation lends itself to this rather well, and compared to Keaton, it's a major improvement, even if the subject matter is completely different. As for the soundtrack, there's 2 forms of it that fit rather nicely with the story, with the darker moments getting soundtrack pieces that can make a scene become extremely unsettling, which really works. But there are still some tracks that kind of take things overboard and overdramatic at times. The entire soundtrack is kind of 50-50, if you ask me.
If there was some way to summarize the entire story of Monster in a short span of time, we'd all be growing hair in undesirable places. Okay, I'm sorry for using a really weird analogy, but I kinda had to do something in order to make my point, because there's absolutely no way to summarize that entire story in a short amount of time.
What starts off as a simple enough tale ends up becoming so complex and ridiculous that you may have a difficult time trying to keep track of everything going on. While the overarching story is about just who Johann is and why he acts the way he acts, the storyline spills into several other pieces that manage to tie themselves into that main storyline. This not only includes Tenma, Ava, and Lunge as the outside forces being thrown in, but it also involves others who are connected to that past, like Nina and Dieter, as well as other more secondary characters.
And you thought the slow burn I mentioned for Wolf's Rain was a problem before? Oh, do I have a treat for you, because Monster has the biggest slow burn that I've ever seen in any show. And this is probably because it's a 100% faithful adaptation of the original manga. I mean, because I've been following the manga more recently, it's actually rather easy to say this because it's an exact copy of the manga panel to panel.
This brings up a subject that I've talked about previously regarding faithful adaptations. It's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, having a completely faithful adaptation means you won't miss a thing and get the story as it was fully intended on being. On the other hand, it leaves very little room for creativity and can hurt the show if either A, the manga wasn't completed at the time of the anime's release, such as Hellsing and Fullmetal Alchemist, or B, you tend to see some rather unnecessary pieces that drag the story out a little too much. The latter is what can be applied here. Because of Madhouse's reputation of creating faithful adaptations, as well as Urasawa's more than likely active involvement during the entire production process, you can be perfectly fine with either reading the manga or watching the anime, as nothing is left out and everything is included. This also means the story does complete itself by the end of the 74 episodes, and leaves very little to no unanswered questions.
What really makes this series stand out among others from genre and even anime in general is the themes that it has, with the darkness of humanity as a major one. Although Johann is the one who tends to draw it out, what makes this interesting are the people around him that just have this darkness in their hearts to the point where the monster inside of them just grows and grows until it devours the good. It's rather compelling, and with the amount of characters that the series has, it would make for a very interesting psychological study into the minds of human beings. Speaking of a character study, oh boy, all of them characters. Monster has at the minimum 6 characters that we follow throughout the series and get perspectives from. Those being Tenma, Johann, Nina, Dieter, Ava, and Lunge, but there are also dozens upon dozens of secondary characters that we do follow throughout the series. But I think I'm going to try and stick to the 4 that I feel have the most involvement throughout, those being Grimmer, Gillen, Reinvach, and Roberto.
3 out of these 4 men appear prior to the halfway mark of the series, with Roberto making the earliest appearance. Dr. Gillen and Dr. Rockvine can be lumped together as they become major players in the series shortly before the Hans Schuwald arc, and then staying active throughout the rest of the series. These 2, as well as 2 major characters, try their best to keep Tenma from walking down the wrong path, but also work to prove his innocence while Tenma searches for answers about Johann. Roberto plays a more antagonistic role in the series, as the resident hitman looking to kill some bitches. We don't exactly know why that is for a good long while, becoming one of the many mysteries laced into this overly complicated story. Speaking of complicated stories, may I introduce you to Wolfgang Grimmer, probably my favorite character of the bunch. Grimmer appears in the second half of the series, but once he joins the party, he actively becomes a part of it, as he too is looking to solve the mystery surrounding his own life and upbringing. I honestly consider him more of a major character, despite his late appearance in the series. He has strong ties to a part of Johann's past, and throughout the story arc, Grimmer goes through the ramifications of his childhood past, as he develops and changes over time into becoming more human.
At the risk of spoilers, because there's actually a lot of them, I'm going to avoid which incident it was. However, I will say that it actually is rather obvious once you sit down and pay attention to the series. And then we have our 6 major characters to talk about.
Let's get Dieter out of the way first, because he doesn't really have much to do and just follows Tenma around like a lost little puppy. As mentioned before, he is connected to Johann's past during his first appearance, and then turns into a more innocent child looking to live by Tenma's words and escape the horror he previously dealt with. He keeps both Tenma and Nina in check and actually calming both of them on some occasions, making him seem a lot more mature for his young age. Inspector Lunge is a BKA officer who is very devoted to his work to the point of obsession. His investigative methods are rather unorthodox and cause him to become rather robotic and expressionless. Unfortunately for Tenma, this obsession of Lunge's is what causes the Doctor to go on the run for much of the series and caused me to scream at Lunge whenever he believed Johann was another personality of Tenma's.
Yeah, not joking. My hand hurts from all the face palming.
Ava Hyneman is the daughter of the hospital director mentioned in the beginning and Tenma's former fiancé at the time of her father's death. The biggest piece for Ava is her obsession with destroying Tenma after he ruined her, not on purpose mind you. Throughout the series, she begins to have a change of heart as she becomes more and more involved with the search for Johann and in proving Tenma's innocence. Nina Fortner is Johann's twin sister, who we know as Anna in the beginning of the series. Her story arc is one of the more interesting because while searching for her brother with the intent to kill him herself, she begins to recover her memories of her childhood, with the second half of the series leading Nina around to finding and uncovering the truth. If anything, this makes Nina the most developed character of the entire series, as well as, inadvertently, her brother Johann. Dr. Kenzo Tenma,
also known as Keaton's long-lost cousin,
is kind-hearted and passionate. However, he begins to change once his search for Johann begins. Because he becomes exposed to the darker and more corrupt side of humanity after being sheltered from it in the beginning, this shapes his character over time. However, his conviction as to finding Johann remains the same, as well as his desire to keep more blood from being shed due to Johann's plans. Speaking of, Johann is one complicated guy, let me tell you. While the main story is about his past, Johann's personality is one of a trusting nature that is able to get anyone to admire and speak with him. However, he's also really good at manipulation and can use his words in order to get people to follow him. It's very terrifying.
Because Johann and Nina are at the center of this mystery, it makes the most sense that they receive the most development out of anyone. However, seeing this change with Tenma, Ava, and Lunge makes their story arcs more compelling as we follow them throughout this long drawn-out series. The English dub of Monster is actually rather strong, even though there are a few things that are questionable to me here and there, and there are also actors who voice multiple characters throughout the show. Now, we do have a veteran cast coming in as the 6 major characters, but we also have many other well-known voice actors coming in as the secondary and minor characters, including Michael Sinter-Niklaus, Doug Erholtz, Yuri Lowenthal, Mike McFarlane, Vic Mignogna, Kyle Hebert, Julianne Taylor, Michelle Ruff, Troy Baker, Travis Willingham, and Kirk Thornton.
Paul St. Peter's Rockvine and Derek Stephen Prince's Gillen give good performances with rather accurate personalities for their respective characters. Rockvine as a tough yet kind older man, while Gillen tries to keep a straight face and a monotone voice in his line of work as a criminal psychologist. J.B. Blanc's Roberto helped me set him in that secondary antagonist role rather well, cold and calculating. Meanwhile, there's Patrick Seitz taking on triple duty for the show. Not only does he voice Grimmer, but he's also one of the scriptwriters as well as the ADR director for the show. In terms of his directing and writing work, I have no issues except for small things here and there. In terms of his performance of Grimmer, it's an outstanding performance and one of my favorites from the dub as well as from Seitz himself, as he captures Grimmer's struggles with emotion very well while hiding behind this facade.
Then there's our 6 major characters. Now, let me start with the easiest one. Laura Bailey's Dieter made me want to punch the kid in the face.
While the character himself is a great support system for Tenma and Nina, the voice is just so obnoxious. I'm sorry, it really is. Richard Epcar's Lunge is similar to Roberto and Gillen. The character is much more cold, calculating, and stone-faced, and it makes sense for the dub to lean in that direction. However, Lunge is also rather robotic and more monotone compared to them, and Epcar brings this out in his performance. Tara Platt takes on Ava and makes her the bitch we all know she can be, while still retaining some hints of fear and vulnerabilities. Karen Strassman's Nina was rather 50-50 for me. There were points where it was outstanding, and then other times where it was kind of meh, but she really manages to shine in the latter half of the series.
Finally, we have Liam O'Brien's portrayal of Tenma and Keith Silverstein's Johann. For Tenma, this is the best I have seen from Liam O'Brien, hands down.
From the beginning, we see that he plays Tenma's morals regarding life and his sheltered side rather well, but over time, O'Brien creates a much more tired and rather desperate character, making it very different than what I've seen him play. It just works so well and makes him one of the standouts alongside Seitz's Grimmer. But then we also have Silverstein's Johann, and holy crap! First of all, I had never heard of Keith Silverstein prior to watching Monster for the first time. Second of all, holy crap! Silverstein plays the many sides of Johann's character very well, but most of all, he plays the intellect and philosopher traits the best. Since Johann is the whole reason why this anime exists, Silverstein had to be able to carry that significant presence throughout the show, and he does so wonderfully, making his performance probably the best of the entire cast.
In case you didn't know, though I don't exactly know how you wouldn't by now, Monster's my favorite anime series. Yeah, this long drawn out show is my absolute favorite, so I guess the question you want to ask me now is why? Believe it or not, it's for more than just my obsession with the horror mystery genre.
From a psychological standpoint, it's very interesting. As I mentioned before, I see this series as more of a character study than anything, as it gets to look at different people, their lives, and the darker parts of them, all because one man likes to see the end result through manipulation. Then there's the story where every little thing is connected in some of the most unexpected ways. Believe me, while I was watching this show for this review, there were times where I thought parts of it weren't going anywhere, and it was just some filler. Boy, was I reminded how wrong I was. Every little thing is connected to Johann in some form or fashion, and it's amazing how well this is done.
Granted, there are a couple things here and there that even confuse me, but still. It's the psychological aspects and the darker themes this series has that makes it all the more intriguing and even more addicting. True, it helps that Johann exists and that we get to see what kind of plans he has for everyone, but when my mind starts going in a million directions and comes up with dozens of theories, it's what draws me to this series the most, and that's why it's my favorite anime series. When we have encountered the beast, Monster will keep you guessing up until the very end. It may be slow and drawn out, and some of the discoveries may be silly or extreme, but it's an interesting look at the darker side of humanity and society through the manipulation of a single young man. It's a faithful adaptation of Urasawa's work, and it's also intriguing as a psychological and philosophical study if one really wanted it to be. I mean, I wrote a paper on the philosophical uses of monsters. Just saying. In the end, it's up to you whether or not you want to give it a go. Just don't expect to marathon it within a few days because of that slow burn, and unless you like this kind of thing like I do, you may get a little bit bored while watching it. Monster isn't for everyone, that's for sure, but it has one of the more interesting stories that I've ever seen, and I can firmly say that it's one of my favorites. A special thank you to those who appeared in this review via video submissions. So, Hardy, Megan, Noah, Patrick, and Zenith. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys. And thank you to everyone who stuck with me these past 5 years. I mean, whether it was from the very beginning or just recently, you are all so amazing, and I couldn't have made this milestone without you guys. I will be taking a few months off from making reviews and stuff, but when I come back, I look forward to making 100 more. So until next time, otaku on, my friends.